My sister arrived from overseas with luxurious gifts: a Swiss watch, French perfumes, an Italian leather handbag, all for me. Later, my son, while on the phone, would pile those gifts into his car, saying his wife would get more use out of them than I would, that he would take everything for her. That was when my sister lost her patience. But before we get to that moment, I have to tell you how it all began. Because none of this happened out of nowhere. Nothing breaks without first being cracked for a very long time. I am 69 years old, and it had been months since I had felt that warmth in my chest. That morning, the phone rang, and it was Paula, my younger sister, calling me from Italy. Her voice came through the line, clear and excited. She told me she was coming to visit me in 2 weeks, that she was bringing gifts, things she had bought with me in mind, things she knew I would like. When I hung up the phone, I sat in the kitchen staring at the wall. I didn't cry, but I felt something like relief. It had been so long since anyone had told me they had been thinking of me, that they had chosen something especially for me. Paula was always like that. Since we were girls, she was the one who defended me in the schoolyard, the one who lent me her shoes when mine were worn out, the one who saved half of her sweet bread to give to me in secret when Mom couldn't afford enough food. When she went to live in Europe 15 years ago, I felt like I was losing my only ally. But we never stopped talking. Every month she would call me. She would ask how I was. She would truly listen to me. And now she was coming back, with her hands full, with her heart full, thinking of me. I looked out the kitchen window and saw the empty backyard. The plants I used to care for with so much love were now dry. No one helped me water them. No one asked if I needed anything. No one noticed when I went whole days without talking to anyone. Theo, my son, lived just 3 blocks from my house. He was 42 years old. He had been married to Vanessa for 8 years. He worked at a logistics company. He earned a good living. He had a car. He had everything he needed, but he almost never came to visit me. And when he did, it was always rushed. He would come in, have a cup of coffee, look at his phone, say he had to go, that Vanessa was waiting for him, that they had things to do. I never said anything. I just nodded, smiled, told him not to worry, that I was fine, that I understood he was busy. But inside, I felt an emptiness that grew larger each time, a silence that was as heavy as if the house were filled with stones. Sometimes I wondered if I had done something wrong, if I had been a bad mother, if I deserved this abandonment that was so quiet yet so real. After Paula's call, I spent the rest of the day cleaning the house. I wanted everything to be perfect when she arrived. I wanted her to see that I was still the same, that I hadn't fallen apart, that I still had dignity. I swept, I washed the dishes, I dusted the furniture, I changed the sheets on the bed in the guest room, I put fresh flowers in a vase on the dining room table. When I finished, it was already night. I sat on the sofa with a cup of tea and dialed Theo's number. I wanted to tell him that his aunt was coming. I thought maybe that would encourage him to come by more often during those days, that maybe he would want to spend time with us. The phone rang 5 times before he answered. His voice sounded tired, distracted. I told him Paula was coming in 2 weeks, that she was bringing gifts, that it would be nice if he came to see her too. There was a brief silence on the other end. Then he said he would see if he could, that he had a lot of work, that he would let me know. He didn't say he was happy. He didn't ask how Paula was. He didn't say anything that made me feel like he cared. I hung up the phone and stared at the dark screen. I felt that weight again, that void that nothing could fill. I went to bed early that night, but I couldn't rest well. I dreamed of my childhood, of Paula and me running through the fields where we grew up, of my mother calling us in for dinner, of my father sitting on the porch rocker, smoking his cigar. I woke up before dawn. The house was cold, silent, empty. I got up and made coffee. I sat by the window and watched as the sun began to light up the streets. The neighbors were leaving for work. The children were walking to school. The world kept moving as if nothing was wrong. But I felt stuck, as if I were waiting for something that would never arrive. The 2 weeks passed slowly. Every day I checked the calendar. I counted the days left. I imagined the moment Paula would knock on the door, her smile, her hug. Theo didn't call back. I didn't reach out to him either. I was already used to his indifference. I no longer expected anything from him. 3 days before Paula arrived, I went to the market to buy groceries. I wanted to cook all of her favorite things: tamales, mole, rice pudding, sweet bread. I spent almost all the money I had saved. But I didn't care. Paula deserved that and more. When I got home with the full bags, I saw Theo's car parked in front of my door. My heart leaped. I thought maybe he had come to help me, that maybe he had remembered his aunt was arriving soon. But when I went inside, I found him sitting on the sofa, looking at his phone. He didn't even look up when I came in. I asked him if he needed anything. He told me he had only stopped by because Vanessa had asked him to pick up some pots I had lent her months ago. He didn't ask if I needed help with the groceries. He didn't ask how I was. He just took the pots and left. I closed the door behind him and stood in the hallway. The grocery bag still felt heavy in my hands. I felt something inside me tighten. But I didn't cry. I didn't cry about these things anymore. I just kept going. I put away the food. I started to cook. I focused on the one thing that made me feel useful. Finally, the day came. Paula texted me that her flight had landed, that she would be at my house in an hour. I got ready as best I could. I put on a dress I hadn't worn in a long time. I put on a little makeup. I did my hair carefully. When I heard the taxi pull up in front of my house, I ran to the door. I saw Paula getting out with 2 large suitcases. Her hair was shorter, a few gray hairs she didn't have before, but her smile was the same as always. We hugged in the doorway. I felt something inside me loosen, as if I could finally breathe. She came into the house and put her suitcases on the floor. She took my hands and looked me in the eyes. She told me I looked tired, that I had lost weight, that she was worried. I told her I was fine, that it had just been a difficult year, nothing serious. But she knew me too well. She knew when I was lying. She sat on the sofa and opened one of the suitcases. She started taking out things wrapped in tissue paper, elegant boxes, bags with logos I recognized from magazines. She told me everything was for me, that she had thought of me in every store she visited, that she wanted to see me smile. I opened the first package. It was a Swiss watch, silver, elegant, with a soft leather strap. I had never had anything like it in my life. The second package contained French perfumes, 3 carved glass bottles. They smelled of flowers and wood, of luxury, of things I never bought for myself. The third gift was an Italian leather handbag, caramel-colored, with perfect stitching, soft to the touch, heavy, real. I was breathless looking at everything. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I didn't deserve so much. Paula hugged me and told me I deserved everything, that I had worked my whole life, that I had raised my son alone after his father left us, that I had sacrificed everything to give him an education and food, that now it was my turn to receive, my turn to be treated for what I was, a valuable woman, a woman who mattered. I cried. This time I really cried, but not from sadness. I cried because someone saw me. Someone remembered me. Someone thought I was worth it. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking. We cooked together. We laughed. We reminisced about our childhood. We felt like we used to, like it was just the 2 of us against the world. That evening, I ate with more appetite than I had in months. I tried on the watch. I put on a little perfume. I hugged the handbag as if it were a treasure, and in that moment, I still didn't know what was coming. I still didn't know that this happiness would last so short a time, that my own son would be capable of snatching it away from me, that I would have to learn to defend myself from the one person who should have been protecting me. But that night, I only felt gratitude. I only felt that someone was finally treating me with love, with respect, with the dignity I had forgotten I deserved. The next morning I woke up early. Paula was still asleep in the guest room. The house was quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet. It no longer felt empty. Now someone was there. Someone I cared about. Someone who cared about me. I made coffee and sat in the kitchen, looking at the gifts I had left on the table. The watch gleamed in the morning light. The perfume bottles looked like jewels. The handbag rested on the chair as if it had always belonged there. I touched the soft leather of the bag and felt something strange, a mix of joy and guilt, as if I had no right to have such beautiful things, as if it were selfish to want something for myself. I had spent so many years giving everything, buying clothes for Theo, paying for his education, sacrificing my own needs so he could have what he wanted. And now that someone was giving something to me, I felt odd, almost uncomfortable. Paula appeared in the kitchen, yawning. She poured herself some coffee and sat across from me. She looked at me with those eyes that always knew what I was thinking. She asked if I had slept well. I told her I had, but she knew I was lying. She said she noticed something about me, something muted, as if I had gotten used to not existing, to not mattering. I told her she was exaggerating, that it was just my age. That's how things were when you got old. She shook her head. She said age had nothing to do with it, that our mother had been 80 years old and was still strong, still had opinions, still took up space in the world. She asked me about Theo. When was the last time he came to visit? What did he do for me? I fell silent. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to admit that my own son had forgotten me, that weeks would go by without him coming, that when he did come, it was only to ask for something or drop something off. Never to stay with me. Paula waited. She didn't pressure me. She just waited for me to speak. Finally, I told her. I said that Theo was very busy with his work, with his wife, with his life, that I understood, that I didn't want to be a burden. She set her coffee cup on the table with more force than necessary. She told me that I was not a burden, that I was his mother, that he had an obligation, not just to visit me, but to make sure I was okay. I told her that things had changed since he married Vanessa, that she kept him busy, that maybe I wasn't that important to her, and that's why he came less often. Paula looked at me with sadness. She told me that was no excuse, that a grown man knew how to take care of his mother no matter what his wife said. I changed the subject. I didn't want to ruin the morning talking about sad things. I asked her what she wanted to do that day. If she wanted to go to the market. If she wanted to cook something special. She accepted the change of subject. But I saw in her eyes that she wasn't done thinking about this, that something was bothering her, that she was worried about me. We spent the day cooking together. We made tamales like when we were girls. Paula remembered perfectly how Mom used to prepare them, how she folded the husks, how she knew when they were ready. While we cooked, we talked about everything, about Italy, about her job, about her neighbors, about how different it was to live there, but also about how much she missed her home, her family, me. She told me she had thought about asking me to come live with her, that she had space in her apartment, that we could spend our last years together. I felt something in my chest, a mix of hope and fear. I told her I couldn't leave my house, my life, even if that life was lonely, even if no one visited me. It was the only thing I knew. She didn't insist. She just nodded. But I saw in her face that it hurt her to see me so alone, so resigned. In the afternoon, my phone rang. It was Theo. He asked if Paula had arrived yet. I told him she had, that she was with me, that we were cooking. There was a brief silence. Then he told me he would stop by to say hello the next day, that Vanessa wanted to meet her, that they had been talking about her for a while. I was happy. I thought that maybe this visit would bring him closer to me, that maybe he would remember he had a family, that he had a mother. I hung up and told Paula. She smiled, but I noticed something odd in her expression, as if she wasn't completely happy about the news. I asked her what was wrong. She said nothing, that she just hoped Theo would be nice, that he would treat her well, and above all, that he would treat me well in front of her. I told her not to worry, that Theo was a good son. He was just busy. She didn't say anything else, but I saw in her eyes that she didn't believe me. That night we ate the tamales we had prepared. We sat in the dining room with candles lit. We made a toast with hibiscus tea. We laughed. We felt alive. Before going to sleep, Paula asked me to try on the watch again, to put on a little perfume, to carry the handbag around the house as if I were going out. I felt silly, but I did it. I put on the watch. I sprayed perfume on my wrists and neck. I took the handbag and walked through the living room like a model. Paula clapped. She told me I looked beautiful, that I looked how I should always look. With dignity, with pride. I looked at myself in the hallway mirror. I almost didn't recognize myself. It had been so long since I had seen myself like that, put together, cared for, as if I mattered. I took everything off before sleeping. I put the watch in its box, the perfumes on my dresser, the handbag in my closet, as if they were too valuable to be used, as if I didn't deserve to use them every day. Paula saw me putting everything away and shook her head. She told me those things were for using, for enjoying, not for storing away like museum pieces. I promised her I would use them, but deep down, I knew I was scared. Scared of ruining them, scared of something happening to them, scared that someone would tell me it was ridiculous for a woman my age to have such elegant things. The next morning, I woke up nervous. Theo was coming at noon. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted him to see that his aunt and I were fine, that we were happy. I cleaned the house again, even though it was already clean. I prepared enough food for an army. I set the table with the good tablecloth, the one I only used for special occasions. Paula stopped me. She told me to stop running around, to sit down, to breathe, that my son didn't deserve so much effort if he never came to see me. But I couldn't help it. I needed everything to be perfect. I needed to show him that I was still good for something, that I could still be a good mother, a good hostess. At 2 o'clock, I heard Theo's car park in front of my house. My heart started beating faster. I felt that anxiety I always felt when he came. That need to please him, to make him feel comfortable, to make him stay a little longer. I opened the door before he knocked. He came in with Vanessa behind him. She was wearing a tight dress, high heels. Her hair was perfectly straightened, flawless makeup. She greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. But it was cold, quick, like a formality. Theo gave me a brief hug. He asked where Paula was, as if I didn't matter, as if he had only come for her. Paula came out of the kitchen, drying her hands. She hugged Theo warmly. She told him how much he had grown, that he looked a lot like his father, my late husband. Theo smiled. It was the first time I had seen him smile like that in a long time, as if he remembered something good, something important. Then Paula greeted Vanessa. She was polite, kind, but I noticed she was watching her carefully, as if she were studying her. We sat in the living room. I served coffee. I offered sweet bread. Vanessa said she didn't eat carbs, that she was watching her figure. Paula said nothing, but I saw how she tightened her lips. We talked about Italy, about what it was like to live there. Theo asked about Paula's job, about how much she earned, about how much things cost there. Paula answered patiently, but I could tell those questions bothered her, as if Theo were just calculating, measuring, comparing. Vanessa looked around the living room. Her eyes stopped on the dining room table where I had left Paula's gifts, the watch, the perfumes, the handbag. She got up and walked over. She picked up the handbag without asking permission. She examined it, opened it, ran her hand over the leather. She said out loud that it was beautiful, that she had always wanted a bag like that they cost about $1,000 in the stores here. My heart stopped. I felt a cold knot in my stomach. Paula got up too. She walked toward Vanessa, calmly, unhurriedly. She took the handbag from her hands, gently but firmly. She told her it was a gift for me, that she had bought it especially for her sister. Vanessa smiled. But it was a fake smile, she said, of course. That she was just admiring it, that it was very nice. But I saw something in her eyes, something that scared me. An ambition, a desire, a determination. Paula put the handbag back on the table. But this time she placed it closer to me, as if protecting it. The rest of the visit was awkward. Theo spoke little. Vanessa kept glancing at the gifts. I tried to keep the conversation going, but I felt a tension in the air I couldn't ignore. When they finally left, Paula closed the door and leaned against it. She looked at me and shook her head. She told me that woman was dangerous, that she had seen how she looked at my gifts, as if they were already hers, as if I had no right to have them. I told her she was exaggerating, that Vanessa had only been curious, nothing more. Paula took my hands. She looked me in the eyes. She told me to be careful, to not let anyone take what was mine, that I deserved to have nice things, that I deserved to be respected. I nodded. But deep down, I didn't believe her. I didn't believe Vanessa was capable of doing something bad. I didn't believe my own son would let her disrespect me. But I was wrong, very wrong. And I would soon find out in the worst possible way. The next few days were peaceful. Paula and I fell into a pleasant routine. We had breakfast together. We went for walks in the neighborhood. We cooked. We watched old movies on television. We talked late into the night. I felt alive again, as if I had woken up from a long gray dream, as if I finally remembered who I was before I became just someone's mother, just the invisible woman who lived alone in that house. One afternoon, Paula insisted we go out, that I should wear the watch, carry the handbag, spray on some perfume. She told me it was pointless to have nice things if I didn't use them. I resisted at first. I was embarrassed to go out like that, so dressed up, so elegant, as if I were showing off, as if I wanted to attract attention, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. She helped me pick out a dress. She did my hair. She put on a little makeup for me. She put the watch on my wrist. She gave me the handbag. When I saw myself in the mirror, I almost didn't recognize myself. I looked different. I looked important. I looked like someone who deserved respect. We went for a walk downtown. We went into a nice cafe. We ordered coffee and cake. We sat by the window watching people go by. Paula took a picture of me with her phone. She told me I looked radiant, that this was how I should always look. I smiled. But inside, I still felt that little voice telling me I didn't deserve this, that it was too much, that a woman my age shouldn't be walking around like this. When we got back home, it was late afternoon. I left the handbag in my room. I carefully took off the watch. I put it back in its box as if it were a fragile treasure. Paula saw me and sighed. She didn't say anything, but I knew she was disappointed. Disappointed that I couldn't just enjoy it, simply accept that I deserved good things. That evening, Theo called. He asked if Paula and I wanted to come to his house for dinner on Sunday. He said Vanessa would cook, that it would be nice to spend time as a family. I was thrilled. It had been more than 6 months since he had invited me to his house. I thought maybe Paula's presence had made him reflect, that maybe he remembered I existed, that I was his mother. I told Paula. She didn't seem as enthusiastic. She asked if I was sure we wanted to go, if I wouldn't rather we spend that day alone. I told her I wanted to go, that I wanted Theo to see that I was okay, that I had my sister with me, that I was happy. Paula agreed, but I saw in her face that she wasn't convinced, that something was worrying her. Sunday came quickly. I got ready carefully. I wore a simple but nice dress. This time, I did wear the watch. I took the handbag with the perfumes inside because I wanted to show them to Theo. I wanted him to know that his aunt had given me beautiful things, that someone was thinking of me. Paula got ready too. She brought a bottle of Italian wine she had packed in her luggage, an expensive wine, from a region she knew well. We arrived at Theo's house at 6 o'clock in the evening. It was a nice house, 2 stories, with a yard with plenty of space. Enough space for me to live there if they ever asked me. But they had never asked. Vanessa opened the door. She was wearing an apron. She smiled, but again, it was that smile that didn't reach her eyes. She let us in. The house smelled good, like a home-cooked meal, like spices. I was surprised. I didn't know Vanessa cooked. Theo was in the living room watching the football game. He got up to greet us. He hugged us quickly. He told us to sit down, that dinner would be ready soon. I sat on the sofa. I placed my handbag next to me. Paula gave the wine to Vanessa. She took it and read the label. Her eyes lit up. She said it was an excellent wine, that a bottle cost about $150. Paula nodded. She said it was a gift, that they should enjoy it. Vanessa took it to the kitchen. I expected her to open it for dinner, but she didn't. She put it away in her pantry, as if it were just for her and Theo. as if Paula and I weren't even there. Paula looked at me. I just looked down. I didn't want to cause trouble. I didn't want to ruin the evening. Dinner was fine. Vanessa had made chicken in a sauce, rice, salad, nothing special, but it was tasty. We ate in silence for most of the time. Theo asked when Paula was leaving. She said in a week, that she had to get back to her job, to her life in Italy. He nodded. He asked if she would be back soon. Paula said she didn't know, that it depended on a lot of things, but that she would always be looking out for me, that she would always call me. She looked at Theo when she said that, as if expecting him to say something, to say that he would look out for me too, that he wouldn't leave me alone. But Theo just kept eating, as if he didn't get the message, or as if he didn't care. After dinner, we went to the living room. Vanessa served coffee. I took one of the perfumes out of my handbag. I wanted to show it to Theo. I wanted him to see how beautiful it was. I gave it to him to smell. He took it, looked at it, said it smelled nice. Nothing more. He left it on the coffee table and went back to watching the football game on television. Vanessa came over. She picked up the bottle. She examined it carefully, read the label. Her eyes widened a little. She said it was French perfume, from an expensive brand, that a bottle cost about $200. I nodded. I told her Paula had brought me 3, that they were beautiful, that they made me feel special. Vanessa didn't say anything else, but she kept staring at the bottle for a long time, too long. Paula stood up. She said it was getting late, that we should go, that I got tired easily. Theo didn't even get up to say goodbye. He just raised his hand from the sofa, said we should drive carefully. Vanessa walked us to the door. She hugged me, thanked me for coming, but her hug was cold, empty. When we got in the taxi, Paula was quiet, very quiet. I asked her what was wrong. She said nothing, that she was just tired. But I knew she was lying. I knew she had seen the same thing I had. The way Vanessa looked at my things, the way Theo ignored me, the way neither of them treated me like I mattered. We got home and went to bed, but I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the dinner, about how awkward it had all been, about how little my son seemed to care about me, and about how Vanessa's eyes had been fixed on my gifts, as if she were already planning something, as if she already wanted them for herself. The following days passed quickly, too quickly. Paula and I knew she would have to leave soon, and that made us sad. We tried to make the most of every moment, every breakfast, every conversation, every laugh. Theo didn't call again after that dinner. I didn't reach out to him either. I had grown accustomed to his silence, his distance, his indifference. But one afternoon my phone rang. It was him. He asked if he could stop by to pick up some tools he had left in my garage months ago. I said yes, whenever he wanted. He arrived half an hour later. He went straight to the garage without even properly greeting me. Paula was in the kitchen making lemonade. I stayed in the living room, waiting for Theo to finish. When he came out of the garage, he had the tools in his hand. He stopped at the entrance to the living room. His eyes scanned the table where I had once again left my gifts. The watch, the perfumes, the handbag. He walked over. He picked up the watch. He looked at it closely. He asked me how much it had cost. I told him I didn't know, that it was a gift from Paula, that I hadn't asked the price. He kept looking at it. He said it probably cost about $1,500, that it was a very good brand. Swiss, luxury. He put the watch back on the table. He picked up one of the perfumes. He did the same. He estimated that each bottle cost around $200. I didn't understand why the price mattered so much to him, why he couldn't just be happy that I had nice things, that someone had given them to me with love. Paula came out of the kitchen. She sensed the tension. She stood in the doorway, watching. Theo put the perfume down on the table. He looked at me and told me to be careful, that these things were very valuable, that I should keep them in a safe place, that it would be a shame if they got ruined. I nodded. I told him I would take care of them, that they were very important to me. He left without another word, without asking how I was, without asking Paula about her return trip. He just took his tools and left. Paula sat down next to me. She told me she didn't like how Theo had looked at my things, as if he were doing math, as if he were thinking about something. I told her she was exaggerating, that Theo was just curious, nothing more. But deep down, I had felt something strange too. Something uncomfortable in the way he had examined each gift, in the way he had calculated each price. That night, Paula got a call from her job. They had an emergency. They needed her to come back sooner. In 2 days, not in a week as we had planned. I was devastated. I didn't want her to leave yet. I didn't want to be alone again. But I understood. She had her life, her responsibilities. We spent those last 2 days together, inseparable. We cooked. We talked. We cried a little. We promised we would call more often, that we wouldn't let so much time pass without seeing each other. The morning Paula left, I got up very early. I made her favorite breakfast. I wanted her to leave with a good memory. I wanted her to know how much it meant to me that she had come. While we were eating breakfast, my phone rang. It was Theo again. He asked if Paula had left yet. I told him she was leaving that afternoon, that her flight left at 6. There was a silence. Then he asked if he could come by to say goodbye. I was happy. I thought that maybe he did care about his aunt, that maybe he had some heart after all. I said yes. He could come whenever he wanted, that we would be home all day. I hung up and told Paula. She didn't seem excited. She just nodded, as if she already expected something like this to happen. Theo arrived at noon. This time he came with Vanessa. They came in together. He was holding a small gift bag. I was surprised. I didn't expect them to bring anything. They sat in the living room. Theo gave the bag to Paula. She opened it. There were chocolates, a card, simple things. But the gesture was nice. Paula thanked them. She hugged them. She told them it was a pleasure to see them, that she hoped they would take care of me, that they wouldn't leave me alone for so long. Theo nodded. He said yes, that he would come by more often. But I knew he wouldn't. I had heard that promise before. Vanessa got up. She walked to the table where my gifts were. Again, as if they were a magnet. As if she couldn't help it. She picked up the handbag, opened it, looked inside. She said it was beautiful. That she had one similar, but not as good. That this one was better quality. Paula watched her. Carefully. Attentively. Vanessa put the bag down. She picked up one of the perfumes. She uncapped it, sprayed a little on her wrist. Smelled it. Smiled. Said it smelled incredible. That it was perfect for her. I felt a cold knot in my stomach. I didn't like the way she said that. As if it were already hers. As if I weren't even there. Paula stood up. She walked toward Vanessa. Calmly. She took the perfume from her hand, capped it, put it on the table, away from her. She told her in a soft but firm voice that all of this was for me, that she had bought it for her sister, that it wasn't for anyone else. Vanessa laughed. She said, of course, that she was just trying it, that there was no problem. But her laugh sounded fake, forced, and her eyes showed something else. They showed annoyance, resentment. Theo got up. He said it was getting late, that they had to go, that they had things to do. They said their goodbyes quickly. Vanessa gave me a kiss on the cheek, but it was even colder than the other times. When they left, Paula closed the door and sighed. She looked at me with concern. She told me to be very careful, that that woman wanted my things, that she would do whatever it took to get them. I told her she couldn't, that they were mine, that Theo would never allow something like that. Paula shook her head. She told me Theo wouldn't defend me, that she had already seen it, that he was completely controlled by his wife, that he did whatever she asked. She told me to put my things away safely, to put them somewhere no one else could see them, where no one could touch them. But I didn't listen to her. I thought she was being paranoid, that Vanessa wouldn't do anything bad, that Theo would never betray me like that. I was so wrong. That afternoon, I took Paula to the airport. We hugged for a long time. She made me promise to call her if anything happened, if I needed help, if anyone disrespected me. I promised I would. But deep down, I thought it wouldn't be necessary, that everything would be fine. I watched her go through security. I stood there until she disappeared into the crowd. I felt a huge emptiness in my chest, as if something had been torn out of me. I went home alone. The house was silent again, empty again, just like before Paula arrived. I sat in the living room. I looked at my gifts on the table. The watch gleamed. The perfumes looked elegant. The handbag rested there like a reminder that someone loved me, that someone thought of me. But for the first time, I felt afraid of losing them, afraid that someone would take them from me, afraid that Paula was right. I took the handbag. I brought it to my room. I put it in the closet, hidden, protected. I did the same with the perfumes, and with the watch. I put them all away, as if they were secrets, as if I had no right to have them in sight. And then I realized something terrible. I realized I no longer felt safe even in my own home, that I no longer trusted my own son, and I was right not to trust him, because the worst was yet to come. The first few days without Paula were hard. The house once again felt too big, too quiet, too empty. I would wake up in the mornings and for a second, I'd forget she was gone. I'd expect to hear her voice from the kitchen, but there was only silence. Theo didn't call. Not once. Not even to ask if she had arrived safely from the airport. Not to ask how I was. Nothing. I didn't reach out to him either. Something inside me had changed. Paula's words kept echoing in my head, her warning, her concern, and even though I tried to ignore them, I couldn't. I had put all my gifts away in my bedroom closet. I would take them out from time to time just to look at them, to remember that someone had thought of me, but I no longer left them in plain sight. I didn't feel safe doing that anymore. One afternoon the following week, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the window and saw Theo's car parked in front of my house. I felt a mix of joy and nervousness. I opened the door. He was there with Vanessa. They were both smiling. They told me they were just stopping by to say hello, that they wanted to see how I was now that Paula was gone. I let them in. I offered them coffee. They sat in the living room. Vanessa looked around as if searching for something. Her eyes stopped on the dining room table, the table where my gifts used to be. She asked where the things Paula had brought me were. She said she wanted to see them again, that they were so beautiful. I told her I had put them away, that I didn't want them to get ruined, that they were very valuable to me. She insisted. She said she just wanted to look at them for a moment, that she loved that handbag, that she couldn't stop thinking about it. Something in her tone made me uncomfortable, but I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to create problems. So I went to my room and took the handbag out of the closet. When I returned to the living room, I gave it to her. She took it with both hands. She opened it. She looked inside. She ran her fingers over the leather. She held it against her body as if it were her own. She said it suited her perfectly, that it was just her style, that she would know how to use it better than I would. My hands started to sweat. I told her it was a gift from my sister, that it meant a lot to me, that it wasn't something I used every day, but I cherished it. Vanessa looked at me, smiled, but it was a strange smile. She told me she understood, that she was just admiring it, that it was obvious a bag like that was too elegant to be kept hidden in a closet. Theo said nothing. He was sitting there looking at his phone, as if he didn't care about the conversation, as if nothing strange was happening. Vanessa finally gave the bag back to me, but she did it slowly, as if it pained her to let it go, as if she wanted to keep it. They stayed a while longer. We talked about unimportant things, the weather, the traffic, nothing real. And then Vanessa said something that sent a chill down my spine. She said it would be nice if I gave her something as a gift, that we were family after all, that sharing was a nice thing to do, that surely Paula had brought enough things for me to spare one. I fell silent. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I was being backed into a corner, that they were pressuring me. Theo looked up from his phone. He looked at me. He said Vanessa was right, that I had received a lot of gifts, that it wouldn't hurt to share a little, that I never used those things anyway. I felt something break inside me. My own son, my own blood, was asking me to give away the only nice things I had, the only things that made me feel valuable. I told them no, that those gifts were mine, that Paula had bought them for me, that I would not give them away. The atmosphere changed. Vanessa stopped smiling. Theo frowned. As if I had said something wrong, as if it was selfish of me to want to keep what was mine. Vanessa got up. She said she understood, that it was no problem, but her voice was cold, resentful. Theo also got up. He told me I didn't have to be like that his wife was just being nice, that I was being difficult. I sat there, unable to believe what I was hearing. My son was calling me difficult for not giving away my things, for not yielding to his wife's whims. They left without a proper goodbye. The door closed with more force than necessary. I was left alone in the living room with the handbag still in my hands. I cried. I cried for the first time in a long time. Not from sadness, from rage, from helplessness, from pain. I realized in that moment that Paula had been right, that Vanessa wanted my things, and that Theo would support her, that he would choose to please her before respecting me. I put the handbag away again. This time, I put it in a more hidden place, behind my old bedsheets, where no one would think to look. I did the same with the perfumes and the watch. I hid them as if they were treasures in danger. Because that's what they were, and they were in danger. That night, I called Paula. I told her what had happened. She got angry. She told me not to open the door for them again, not to let them into my house, to protect what was mine. She told me to call her immediately if they tried anything else, that she would come back if necessary, that she wouldn't leave me alone with this. We hung up and I went to sleep, but I couldn't rest. I kept thinking about Vanessa's face as she held my bag, about how she looked at it, how she wanted it, and how Theo had looked at me, with coldness, with disappointment, as if I were the problem, as if I were the selfish one. 3 days passed. Theo didn't call. I didn't either. The silence between us was different now. It was no longer just distance. It was a rupture, and then one afternoon, I saw his car park in front of my house again. But this time, he came alone, without Vanessa. I felt a bit of relief. I thought maybe he was coming to apologize, that maybe he had reflected, that maybe he remembered I was his mother. I opened the door. He came in. But he didn't greet me with a hug. He didn't ask how I was. He just walked straight into the living room. He sat down. He looked at me. And then he said something I will never forget. He told me that Vanessa was very upset, that she felt rejected, that I had made her feel bad, that she only wanted to borrow the handbag, just for a party, nothing more. I told him no, that the bag was mine, that I wouldn't lend it. He insisted. He told me I was being ridiculous, that I never went anywhere, that I never used those things, that it was a waste to have them stored away. I felt something inside me shatter. My son was telling me I didn't deserve to have nice things because I didn't use them, as if my worth depended on how useful I was to others. I said no again, more firmly. I told him to leave, that I didn't want to talk about this anymore. He stood up. He looked at me with an expression I had never seen on him, a mix of anger and contempt. He told me I would regret it, that Vanessa didn't forget these things, that I was ruining my relationship with them over a stupid handbag. And he left, leaving me there, shaking, scared, wondering how I had gotten to this point, how my own son had become a stranger, someone who made me feel guilty for protecting the little I had. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I knew something bad was going to happen. I could feel it. And I was right. The following days were strange. Theo didn't call again. I didn't reach out to him either. There was a wall between us now. A wall I hadn't built, but it was there. Solid, real, painful. I spent my days alone at home. I rarely went out. Almost never. I was afraid to leave my things unattended. Afraid someone would break in. Afraid they would be taken from me. I realized how ridiculous it sounded. But I couldn't help it. The way Vanessa had looked at my gifts. The way Theo had pressured me. It had all left me frightened. Paula called me every day. She asked how I was. if Theo had come back, if anything had happened. I told her no, that everything was quiet, but we both knew it was the calm before the storm. One morning, I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard a noise outside. I peeked through the window and saw Theo's car pulling up. It was only 9 o'clock in the morning. He never came so early. He got out of the car. He was alone again. He knocked on the door. I hesitated. I didn't want to open it. I didn't want another argument, but he was my son. I couldn't just leave him outside. I opened the door. He walked in without waiting for an invitation. He had a serious expression, tense. He told me we needed to talk, that this couldn't go on, that we had to solve the problem. I asked what problem. He looked at me as if I were a fool. He told me the problem was my attitude, that I was being selfish, that Vanessa had only asked for a favor and I had turned it into a drama. I felt rage rise in my throat. I told him there was no drama, that I had simply said no, that I had the right to say no, that my things were mine. He raised his voice. He told me I didn't understand, that Vanessa was his wife, that she was important to him, that I should make an effort to get along with her. I told him I had always been kind to her, that I had never disrespected her, that the only thing I wouldn't do was give or lend her my things. Theo walked toward the dining room. He looked at the empty table. He asked me where the gifts were. I told him they were put away, in a safe place. He looked at me intently. He asked where, exactly. I told him that was none of his business, that they were my things and I decided where to keep them. His expression changed. It became harder, colder. He told me I was being paranoid, that no one was going to steal anything from me, that I was exaggerating. But I knew I wasn't exaggerating. I saw it in his eyes. I saw that he had come with a plan, that Vanessa had sent him, that he wouldn't leave without getting what he wanted. I asked him to leave, that we had talked enough, that there was nothing more to say. He didn't move. He stood in the middle of the living room, staring at me, as if he were calculating, thinking. Then he took out his phone. He dialed a number. He put it on speaker. It was Vanessa. She started talking. She told me she didn't understand why I was being so difficult, that she only wanted to use the handbag once, for a wedding, that she would return it afterward. I told her no, that I had already said no, that I wouldn't change my mind. Her tone changed. It became sweeter, more manipulative. She told me I didn't need it, that I never went out, that I was wasting it, that a woman my age had nowhere to use such things. It felt like I had been slapped, a woman my age, as if being 69 years old meant I no longer deserved to have nice things, as if my life was no longer worth anything. I told her to hang up, that I didn't want to listen to her anymore. Theo ended the call. He looked at me with disappointment. He told me I was forcing him to choose, that I was putting material things above family, that I was being a bad mother. Those words hurt me more than anything else. A bad mother. Me who had sacrificed everything for him. Me who had worked double shifts to give him an education. Me who never bought anything for myself so that he would never lack for anything. And now he was calling me a bad mother for not giving away the only thing someone had given me with love. I told him to leave, that I didn't want to see him anymore, that he shouldn't come back until he could respect me. He laughed. It was a bitter, dry laugh. He said, fine. If that's what I wanted, so be it. That he wouldn't bother me anymore. He walked to the door. But before he left, he stopped. He turned around. He looked at me with something that scared me. Something dark. Something I had never seen in him. He told me I had brought this on myself, that I shouldn't say later that he hadn't warned me. And he left. The door slammed shut. I was left alone, shaking, my heart beating far too fast. I called Paula. I told her everything. She got scared. She told me to be very careful, to change the locks, not to open the door for them anymore. I told her I didn't think Theo was capable of doing anything bad. She told me I didn't know people when they became obsessed with something, that money and ambition change people. I spent the rest of the day on edge. I jumped at every noise. I checked the windows every 5 minutes. I checked 3 times that all the doors were locked. By the time night came, I was exhausted. I hadn't eaten anything all day. I forced myself to eat a piece of bread. I drank tea to calm down. I went to bed early, but I couldn't rest. I kept hearing noises, shadows moving. My mind was playing tricks on me. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up. I went to check the closet where I kept my gifts. They were still there, all of them, untouched. I felt silly for being so paranoid. I went back to bed. I tried to sleep. The next day I woke up late. My head ached. My body felt as heavy as if I had run a marathon. I made coffee. I sat in the kitchen. I looked out the window. Everything seemed normal, quiet. Then my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated but answered. It was Vanessa. She asked if we could talk, like adults, without Theo in the middle. I told her we had nothing to talk about. She insisted. She said she just wanted to explain her point of view, that maybe I had misunderstood her. I told her there was nothing to misunderstand, that my things were mine, period. She sighed. She told me I was being stubborn, that I was ruining the relationship with my son over silly things, that one day I would regret it. I hung up. I didn't want to hear her anymore. I didn't want her to manipulate me, but her words kept circling in my head. I was ruining my relationship with Theo, but not by defending my things, but because he had chosen an ambitious woman over his own mother. That afternoon I decided to go out. I needed fresh air. I needed to clear my head. I locked the house up tight. I double-checked that everything was locked. I walked through the park. I sat on a bench. I watched the families playing, the children running, the mothers smiling, and I wondered at what point my life had become this. At what point I had gone from being a beloved mother to being an obstacle, someone to be manipulated, someone to be stolen from. I returned home 2 hours later. I opened the door. Everything seemed normal. I went inside. I locked the door behind me. I went to my room. I opened the closet. I looked behind the sheets. My heart stopped. The handbag was gone. I checked again. I moved all the sheets. I searched every corner of the closet. The perfumes were gone too. And the watch. Everything had disappeared. Someone had entered my house. Someone had gone through my things. Someone had robbed me. And I knew exactly who it had been. I stood in front of the empty closet, unable to breathe. My hands were shaking. My head was spinning. I felt like the floor was moving beneath my feet. I checked again and again, as if my eyes were lying to me, as if the gifts would magically reappear. But they weren't there. Nothing was there. I sat on the edge of the bed. I tried to think. I tried to understand how this had happened. I had locked the house up tight. I had checked the doors, the windows. Everything was locked when I left. And then I knew. Theo had a key to my house. I had given it to him years ago, for emergencies, for when I needed help. I never thought he would use it like this. I never thought he would use it to rob me. I felt sick to my stomach. I ran to the bathroom. I knelt in front of the toilet. But nothing came out. Only dry heaves. Only the crushing weight of betrayal. I splashed my face with cold water. I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw an old woman, tired, defeated, a woman whose own son had just robbed her. I came out of the bathroom. I picked up my phone. I dialed Theo's number. It rang 5 times. He didn't answer. I dialed again. Again, he didn't answer. I dialed Vanessa. She didn't answer either. I sent them text messages. I told them I knew what they had done, to return my things, that this was theft, that they were the worst kind of people. The messages were marked as read, but there was no reply. I sat on the sofa. The tears began to fall. I couldn't stop them. I cried like I hadn't cried in years. I cried for the betrayal, for the loss, for the humiliation that my own son had treated me this way. I called Paula. She answered on the second ring. She heard my broken voice and knew immediately that something terrible had happened. I told her everything, that I had been out for 2 hours, that when I came back everything was gone, that Theo had a key, that I knew it was him. Paula screamed. I had never heard her so angry. She told me to call the police, to report the theft, not to let them get away with it. I told her I couldn't, that he was my son, that I couldn't get him in trouble with the law, that I couldn't do that to him. She told me he had no problem doing this to me, that I had to defend myself, that I had to get back what was mine. But I didn't know if I could. I didn't know if I had the strength. I felt so tired, so old, so useless. Paula told me to wait, to do nothing, that she was catching the next flight, that she would be there in 2 days, that we would fix this together. We hung up. I sat on the sofa until it got dark. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't eat. I didn't do anything. I just sat there, in the darkness, thinking about how my life had come to this. That night, I didn't sleep. Every noise startled me. I was afraid they would come back, that they would want more, that they would do something worse to me. The next morning, the doorbell rang. I peeked through the window. It was Theo, alone, without Vanessa. I didn't want to let him in, but I needed to see his face. I needed to hear him admit what he had done. I opened the door. He walked in as if nothing had happened, as if it were a normal day, as if he hadn't robbed me the day before. He sat on the sofa. He looked at me. He asked why I had been bothering him with messages, why I was being so dramatic. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I yelled at him. I told him I knew what he had done, that he had come into my house, that he had taken my things, that he had robbed me. He shook his head. He told me I was crazy, that he hadn't done any of that he didn't know what I was talking about. But I saw something in his eyes, a flicker of guilt, of nervousness. I knew he was lying. I told him he had a key to my house, that no one else could have gotten in, that I knew it was him. He stood up. He told me I was being paranoid, that I had probably lost the things and was now making up stories, that a woman my age sometimes forgets where she puts things, again, using my age against me again, as if I were senile, as if I were stupid. I told him to return my things or I would call the police. He laughed. He told me to go ahead, that I had no proof, that no one would believe me. And he was right. I had no proof, just my word against his, and he was a respectable man with a stable job. I was just a lonely old woman who was maybe confused. He left. He left me there, more broken than before, more alone than ever. I spent the rest of the day wondering what to do. If I should go to his house, confront Vanessa, look for my things. But I was scared of what they might do to me, scared they would call the police and accuse me of something. Paula called me that night. She told me her flight was leaving the next day, that she would arrive in the afternoon, that I should hang on, that we would be together soon. I told her that Theo had come by, that he had denied everything, that he had made me feel like I was crazy. Paula told me I was not crazy, that she would fix everything, that he would not get away with this, that he would pay for what he had done. The next day, I cleaned the house. I don't know why. I guess I needed to do something, to keep my hands busy, not to think about the emptiness I felt. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Paula arrived. She had only a small backpack. She had come in a hurry, just for me. She hugged me at the door, and I cried again. I cried in her arms like a child. I cried out all the pain, all the shame, all the betrayal. She let me cry. She said nothing. She just held me. When I finally calmed down, we went inside. She sat in the living room. She looked at me with determination. She told me that now we would fix this, that we would go to Theo's house, that we would get back what was mine. I told her I was scared, that I didn't know if I could face them. She took my hands. She told me I wasn't alone, that she would be with me, that together we were stronger. We waited until 6 o'clock in the evening. Paula said it was better to go when they were both home, so there would be no way for them to deny things if we saw them there. We got into the car Paula had rented. She drove to Theo's house. My heart was beating so hard, I thought it would burst out of my chest. We arrived. Paula parked the car across the street. We saw Theo's car and Vanessa's. They were both there. Paula got out of the car. I stayed seated. I was afraid. She opened my door. She held out her hand. She told me it was time. Time to stand up for myself. To get my dignity back. I took her hand. I got out of the car. We walked together to the front door. Paula rang the doorbell. We waited. Vanessa opened it. Her face changed when she saw us. She tried to close the door, but Paula stopped her. She told her we needed to talk, that we weren't leaving until we got back what they had stolen. Vanessa said she didn't know what we were talking about, that we should leave or she would call the police. Paula smiled, but it was a cold smile. She told her that was perfect, to call the police, that we would be happy to explain to them how they had entered an elderly woman's home and stolen gifts worth more than $2,000. Vanessa turned pale. Theo appeared behind her. He saw us and his expression hardened. Paula looked him straight in the eye, and then she said something that changed everything. She said she knew exactly where my things were, that she had tracked them, that the handbag had a GPS tracker sewn into the lining, that she always put trackers in valuable things she gave as gifts, in case they were lost or stolen. She was lying, but they didn't know that, and it worked. Theo and Vanessa looked at each other. I saw the panic in their eyes, the way they swallowed hard, the way their bodies tensed up. Paula took out her phone. She showed them a screen. I don't know what it was exactly. Maybe some app, maybe nothing. But they didn't get close enough to check. They just watched from a distance. Paula said the signal was coming from inside this house, specifically from the second floor. From the room at the front. Vanessa took a step back. Theo clenched his fists, but neither of them said anything. Paula kept talking, in a calm, firm voice, without yelling. She said they had two options. Return everything right now, and this would stay between family. Or she would call the police and press charges for aggravated robbery, breaking and entering, theft from an elderly person. She said she knew lawyers in this country, good lawyers, that with proof from the GPS and our testimony, Theo could go to jail, lose his job, his reputation, everything. The silence that followed was heavy, long, unbearable. Finally, Vanessa spoke. She said it was all a misunderstanding, that she had only borrowed the things, that she was going to return them later, that it wasn't stealing if she intended to give them back. Paula laughed. But it wasn't a happy laugh. It was a hard, cold laugh. She told her that entering someone's home without permission was trespassing, that taking things without authorization was theft, that it didn't matter if she planned to return them or not. Theo finally spoke. He looked at me. He told me I was overreacting, that we were family, that I couldn't do this to them, that he was my son. Something inside me snapped. I told him he had stopped being my son when he entered my house like a thief, when he stole the only beautiful things I had, when he chose his ambitious wife over respecting his mother. I told him I had given him everything, my whole life, all my effort, all my love. And he had repaid me by stealing from me, by making me feel crazy, by telling me I was paranoid. My voice broke, but I kept speaking. I told him I had never asked him for anything, only respect, only that he let me have something for myself. And he couldn't even give me that. Theo looked down. For the first time, I saw him look ashamed. But he said nothing. He didn't apologize. He didn't ask for forgiveness. Paula gave him an ultimatum. They had 5 minutes to come down with everything, or she would dial 911. She took out her phone. She started to count. Vanessa looked at Theo. She said something to him in a low voice. He shook his head. She insisted. They argued in whispers, but we could hear part of the conversation. Vanessa was saying they couldn't risk it, that if they called the police, everything would get worse. Theo was saying they were his things now, that he wouldn't give them back. Paula reached 3 minutes. She raised her phone. She dialed 9, then 1. Her finger hovered over the final one. Vanessa shouted for her to wait, that they would go get the things, that they would return them. She ran up the stairs. Theo followed her. Paula and I stayed in the doorway. My heart was pounding so hard my chest hurt. We heard noises upstairs. Drawers opening, quick footsteps, arguing voices. Then they came down. Vanessa was carrying the handbag. Theo had a plastic bag with the perfumes and the watch inside. Vanessa threw the handbag at me. It landed on the floor in front of me, like trash, as if it were worthless. Theo pushed the bag into my hands, forcefully, angrily. He looked at me with hatred, pure resentment. He asked if I was happy now, that I had gotten my precious things back, that he hoped they were worth it, because I had lost my son over them. Paula stepped forward. She stood between us. She told Theo not to talk to me like that he had lost his mother the day he decided to steal from her, that he had made that choice, not me. She told him that a real man protects his mother, cares for her, respects her, that he was not a man, he was a thief, a coward, an unworthy son. Theo clenched his jaw, his eyes filled with tears. But I don't know if they were tears of remorse or rage. Vanessa grabbed his arm. She pulled him inside. She yelled at us to leave, to never come back, that we weren't welcome in her house. Paula took my arm. She picked up the handbag from the floor. She helped me walk to the car. My legs could barely hold me up. When we reached the car, I looked back. Theo was standing in the doorway, watching us. His expression was unreadable, a mix of shame, rage, pain. For a second, I thought he would come, that he would ask for my forgiveness, that he would say it had all been a terrible mistake, but he didn't. He just stood there, watching us leave, watching what was left of our relationship break forever. Paula drove in silence. I stared out the window without seeing anything. I had my things back. The handbag, the perfumes, the watch. It was all there, in my hands, intact, but I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel victory. I just felt empty, a huge emptiness that no gift could fill. We had won. We had recovered what was mine, but I had lost my son, and I didn't know if I could ever get him back. We arrived home. Paula helped me inside. She sat me down on the sofa. She checked each gift. She showed me that everything was fine, that nothing was damaged. I nodded, but I didn't care. I didn't care anymore. Paula sat next to me. She hugged me. She told me I had done the right thing, that I had defended my dignity, that I should be proud. I told her I didn't feel proud. I just felt tired, sad, broken. She told me that was normal, that what had happened was terrible, that no mother should have to go through that, but that with time, I would heal, that I was stronger than I thought. That night, Paula stayed with me. She didn't leave me alone. She made tea. She heated up soup. She made me eat even though I wasn't hungry. She helped me change the locks on the house. She called a locksmith who came that night. Now Theo couldn't get in, ever again. I got into bed early. Paula lay down next to me, like when we were girls, like when we were scared and slept together to feel safe. I asked her if I had done the wrong thing, if I should have just given the handbag to Vanessa from the start, if all of this could have been avoided. Paula squeezed my hand. She told me no, that I hadn't done anything wrong, that defending what was mine wasn't selfish, that having boundaries didn't make me a bad mother. She told me Theo had chosen his path, that he had decided to steal, to lie, to betray, that those were his decisions, not mine. She told me I deserved respect. I deserved to be treated with dignity. I deserved to have nice things without anyone taking them from me. I closed my eyes. The tears were still falling, but for the first time in days, they weren't just tears of pain. They were also tears of relief, of gratitude, of knowing I wasn't alone, that someone had defended me, someone had fought for me, someone had reminded me that I was worth it. I fell asleep with Paula's hand in mine, feeling that maybe, just maybe, one day this would hurt less. One day I could look at my gifts and only see love, not betrayal. One day I would feel whole again. But that day was still far away, very far away. And in the meantime, I could only wait and heal and learn to live with this new pain, with this new reality, with this son I had lost forever. The following days were strange. Paula stayed with me for a whole week longer. She canceled meetings, postponed commitments. She told me I was more important than any job. We spent most of our days in silence. She would cook. I would keep her company. We would go for walks in the afternoons. Little by little, I started to feel a bit better. Not good, but better. Theo didn't call. He didn't send any messages. Nothing. It was as if he had died, or as if I had died to him. Sometimes I wondered if he regretted it, if he thought about me, if he understood the damage he had done. But I would never have those answers. And maybe it was for the best. One afternoon, Paula took the handbag out of the closet, where I had put it away again. She gave it to me. She told me I had to use it, that I couldn't keep hiding it as if it were something forbidden. I told her I couldn't, that every time I saw it, I remembered everything, the theft, the betrayal, the look of hatred on Theo's face. Paula sat across from me. She took my hands. She told me she understood, but that I couldn't let them win, that if I kept hiding my things, they would have achieved their goal. They would have succeeded in making me feel like I didn't deserve anything. She told me I had to reclaim the original meaning of those gifts, that they were symbols of love, that I mattered, that someone was thinking of me, and that I couldn't let Theo and Vanessa tarnish that. She was right. I knew it. But it was hard. So hard. That afternoon, she made me get dressed up. I put on a nice dress. She did my hair. She put on a little makeup for me. She put the watch on my wrist. She sprayed me with perfume. She gave me the handbag. We went for a walk downtown. We went into a store, to a cafe. Paula took pictures of me. She made me smile. She reminded me of who I was. A dignified woman, a valuable woman, a woman who deserved to take up space in the world. When we got home, I felt different. Not completely healed, but stronger. As if something inside me had woken up. Something that had been dormant for a very long time. Paula had to leave 3 days later. This time, the goodbye was different. It still hurt. But I no longer felt so lost, so alone, so broken. She hugged me at the airport. She made me promise I would use my gifts, that I wouldn't hide them, that I would go out, that I would live, that I wouldn't let fear lock me away. I promised I would try, and this time I meant it. The weeks went by. I learned to live with Theo's silence, with his absence, with the fact that I might never have a relationship with him again. It hurt. It hurt so much. There were nights I cried myself to sleep. There were days I wondered where I had failed as a mother, what I had done wrong for my son to treat me this way. But Paula called me every day. She reminded me that I had done nothing wrong, that some people just make bad choices, that Theo had chosen ambition and greed over love and respect. I started going out more, using my things, the watch on my wrist, the perfume on my skin, the handbag on my arm. At first, I felt uncomfortable, as if everyone was staring at me, as if everyone knew what had happened, but no one knew, and no one looked at me strangely. In fact, some women would give me compliments. They would tell me I looked elegant, that the handbag was beautiful, that I smelled very nice. And little by little, I started to believe it. I started to believe that I deserved to have nice things, that my age didn't make me less valuable, that my loneliness didn't make me invisible. One day, I was at the supermarket buying vegetables. I was wearing the watch and carrying the handbag. An older woman approached me. She told me I looked radiant. She asked me what my secret was. I smiled at her. I told her there was no secret. I had just learned to value myself, to stand up for myself, to not let anyone make me feel less than what I was. She nodded. She told me she wished she had learned that at my age, that she had spent her whole life pleasing others, putting herself last, forgetting about herself. I told her it was never too late, that we could always start respecting ourselves, demanding respect, taking the place we deserved. When I got home that day, I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a different woman, not the broken woman from a month ago, not the invisible woman from a year ago. I saw a woman who had fought, who had lost something important, but who had gained something more valuable, her dignity. 2 months later, I received a call from an unknown number. I hesitated but answered. It was Theo. His voice sounded different, more sober, more broken. He asked if we could talk, if he could come see me. My first instinct was to say no, that I didn't want to see him, that he had already done enough damage. But something in his voice stopped me. I told him yes, he could come, but we would only talk in my living room, that I wouldn't open my life to him again so easily. He arrived that afternoon. He was alone, without Vanessa. When I opened the door, he looked different, thinner, more tired, older. He came in slowly, as if he were afraid, as if he wasn't sure he was welcome. And he wasn't. Not completely. He sat on the sofa. I sat in the armchair across from him, leaving space between us, making the distance that now existed clear. He asked for my forgiveness. He told me he had been an idiot, that Vanessa had manipulated him, that he had been weak, that he had no excuse but that he was deeply sorry. I listened without interrupting. When he finished, I was silent for a moment, processing his words, deciding what to say. Finally, I spoke. I told him I appreciated his apology, but that words didn't erase what he had done, that they didn't heal the pain he had caused me, that they didn't recover the trust he had destroyed. I told him he had entered my house like a thief, that he had robbed me, that he had lied to me, that he had made me feel crazy, that he had chosen material objects over his own mother. I told him that wasn't easily forgotten, that maybe one day I could forgive him, but that day was not today. And maybe it wouldn't be tomorrow either. Theo cried. I saw him cry for the first time in years. He told me he understood, that he didn't expect me to forgive him, that he just wanted me to know he was sorry, that he had broken up with Vanessa, that he had realized she had turned him into someone he didn't want to be. I told him I was happy for him. But that didn't change anything between us, that he had to live with the consequences of his decisions, like everyone else. He left shortly after. I didn't hug him. I didn't tell him everything would be okay, because I didn't know. I didn't know if we could ever have a relationship again. I didn't know if I wanted one, but I did know something. I knew that I would be okay, with or without him. I knew that I had learned to defend myself, to value myself, to not accept less than what I deserved. That night, I put on the watch. I sprayed on perfume. I took the handbag, and I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a 69-year-old woman, a woman who had survived betrayal, pain, and loss. But I also saw a strong woman, a dignified woman, a woman who had learned that her worth didn't depend on anyone else, that she deserved respect, that she deserved love, that she deserved to have beautiful things without having to justify it. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled, a real smile, because I understood something fundamental. I had lost my son, but I had found myself, and maybe that was the most important thing of all. Life went on, and I would go on with it, stronger, wiser, more aware of my own worth. And no one, ever again, would make me feel that I didn't deserve respect, that I didn't deserve dignity, that I didn't deserve my place in this world, because I did deserve it. I had always deserved it, and now I finally knew it.